So my wife and I went for the first time, and we didn't, like, it just passed us by that this was this cultural phenomenon and that people in the audience knew the words and all that kind of stuff. So we went over the weekend, and there was a couple songs that stuck with me from it, and one of them was about where Alexander Hamilton was not going to miss his shot. And I will not sing that right now or rap that for you. But if you think about it, if you're in a private equity portfolio company, this company's been your baby for a long time. It was your big idea how you were going to change the world, and it's been so important to you, and people give you advice and criticism about it, and sometimes it's like somebody talking about your child. It's really hard um, to partner with people to grow that business, but it's a skill that a lot of entrepreneurs get really good at it. But nonetheless, we're going to give you some guidance. I think some best practices that we've learned from a whole bunch of research. But what I'd encourage you to do in this is get the most. This is your shot. Get the most out of your relationship with your private equity partner, and learn to speak the language they speak, and don't let we won't take everything personally. We'll learn to speak their language, and we'll use technology in a way that people have not thought of it that much in the past to accelerate that value and get the most out of your shot. Make sense?
Sounds good.
So I know a lot of people think that the best way to create value in a private equity portfolio company is through financial engineering, like just over financial engineering, debit sheets, income statement stuff. You know what? It's kind of crazy because those things already happened. We want to take technology and information and look in the future and help people get the best out of their people and the business and take their shot. So those things are important. Over the next 40 minutes, we're going to drill into and share really three sort of secrets almost that we've uncovered in research about CRM and AI and how they create value. And I think it's going to change the way a lot of people look at how CRM can accelerate value creation and help you get the most out of your PE relationship, number one. And we're going to show you how you can do the same as the people in our research did, but in less time using Microsoft AI. And today we're going to focus on data, collecting data, getting the most out of the data, and directing that data to help you drive business outcomes. Cool? So I am very blessed to be joined by Crystal Ziegler from Microsoft. Crystal, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone. I'm Crystal Ziegler. I'm from Microsoft. I've been here for 4 years. I work in the biz app space. I've had some great success. Well, actually, my customers have had some great success with Chuck and his team. So I'm excited to be here with them today. And Chuck's got some great things here. So please feel free to jump in if you have questions. We'll also have time for questions at the end. And I know Chuck said that, this is your shot, but actually afterwards you can reach out to Chuck or I or anyone on the congruentX team, and we're happy to help. So you can have more than one shot.
You can have lots of shots.
Lots of shots.
So I'm Chuck Ingram. I won't talk. We'll get straight to the topic here. But basically, I'm the blessed to serve as the CEO of CongruentX. We help companies get CRM right, especially in the private equity portfolio space. We help them create value so they can grow. Okay. In terms of agenda, we're going to talk about the PE playbook around value creation. We're going to share some research on what portfolio companies are doing with CRM. We're going to talk a little bit about a solution we built with Microsoft's help called an AI fueled revenue accelerator, which we could call it a value accelerator. We're going to get into some tactics like taking the friction out of data collection. We're going to talk about directing the data with Microsoft AI like a laser to help your people with behaviors, processes, and skills, and how we can light up metrics and use AI to drive up things like win rates and saving sellers times. And we're going to talk about unit economics. Anybody remember that from school? Um, it's coming back. We're going to use it to help people, help companies create predictable revenue engines and drive results in an incredible way. You're going to be able to solve for constraints in your pipeline, both the customer acquisition pipeline and the customer retention and expansion pipeline. And we're going to show you how you can make small results that end up driving exponential gains. And we're going to share some evidence from real portfolio companies. And we're going to talk about ways you could get started so you don't have to wait until you get budget for a $1 zillion project. We're going to talk about ways you can get started quick. Make it your shot. So, as we alluded to in the introduction, more often than not, um, private equity has been focused on, in the past, the buy side of the transaction. And now today, we're seeing private equity focus more on value creation. So instead of buying the house that was the beat up one on the block that they could bring to par with the other ones, they're looking for a pretty good company that they can grow and make the prettiest house on the box. So basically help you reach your full potential if you're a portfolio company. Um, it's often a big focus on revenue, and it's been a big focus on implementing technology. And the kind of interesting and cool thing about working with private equity portfolio companies is sometimes things that happen over a number of years get compressed. So it's kind of fun to be able to help do things and see a result, do things, see a result. Um, the bad news is in often cases when the technology's been involved, people don't get the results they're looking for. And that's kind of the reason my partners and I started this company. Um, in fact, top portfolio companies, when you do it right, say they get $9 almost back for every dollar they spend on CRM technologies. Great news. The opportunity, though, is on the other side, about half the companies that implement CRM aren't very happy with it. Okay, I borrowed this slide and some of the concepts in this overall from an amazing company called Winning by Design. Um, and what you kind of have to look at first is where are you in your particular growth stage? If you're at the very beginning, you're going to be looking at product market fit. Do people consistently want to buy the thing that I offer? As you grow, you work on go to market fit is can we sell it consistently to people? And as you begin to scale, you start driving systems and you think about how you can get your people um, to all sell like the people who started the company and start scaling. So generally speaking, when you get a private equity investment, and for the folks on this call who've gotten one, you probably know this, is each company has their own playbook, but most firms have a playbook, and there's a little bit of consistency across it. And they'll bring in a CRO, and there's kind of this focus on the revenue side of the house, which is interesting because most portfolio companies have they didn't start it to be a sales engine. They started it to solve a big problem in the marketplace. So if they know all about the widget that they make and how much it costs, and this machine is the slowest one, and to the penny how much it costs to get it out of the door. But then when they're acquired by a portfolio company or have a portfolio investment, sometimes it's a little harder for them to drill into the revenue side of the house and see, wow, we don't really know how much it costs to get a customer. We don't really know how much that customer is worth to us over the long term. And it's really important both to have that conversation with your PE partner, but also to create value and grow. Make sense, Crystal?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's one of the ways that PE firms really add value to their portfolio companies is bringing in that expertise that maybe they don't have, the Portco doesn't have. So, yeah.
That's right. So a lot of the private equity firms, they have their own sort of secret sauce and methodology. what they'll tend to do is a lot of times either work with you to hire a CRO or somebody that tries to bring marketing, sales, and service together. Um, and they're going to a lot of times help you focus on your most profitable customers. They'll develop an ICP, ideal client profile. Some people say HVC, high value customer. Either way, we want to spend our time with the most valuable customers for us. And then they're going to develop this go-to-market strategy with you that aligns the marketing team, the sales team, and the service team around getting as many of those high value clients or ideal client profiles as possible. And broadly speaking, that CRO is going to be accountable for developing some playbooks so that team is consistent in finding and selling those HVC customers, ICP customers, the most important customers, let's say it that way. A very, very, very big problem that comes up is when this chief revenue officer is working off of bad data. In fact, I think we learned in our research that about 91% of companies say their CRM has terrible data in it, which means that if you're a new CRO or an existing CRO, you're like a coach that can't be on the field with the team with the games going on, and you just get texts back from the team saying how they did. If you're like me, would you tell the coach that it was a great call, or would you say, yeah, I could have done a lot better on that call? We want good data, right? So in our case, we're gonna use an acronym for our an avatar, if you will, for our chief revenue officer. Her name is Mary. She was the vice president of sales at a different company. She's like many people probably on this call, putting her kids through college. Here's the bad news. Mary, like any chief revenue officer, has about 18 months in this role. That's the shelf life of a CRO. So if you think about it, Mary, when she came to the company, she probably got a little grace period for a couple months, but then she had to go make big promises to the board. And the board said, that's great. We're so glad to have you. We'll take the sales target. We'll add some to it, but you can't hire any more people. And Mary has to sign up for that. So Mary based on all of her knowledge she's learned over the years, she puts together this go-to-market strategy. But the bad news is Mary can't tell if it's working or not. The only thing she can do is call people and have meetings and more frequent meetings, because the data in the field, she can't tell if people are running the plays or not. And that's where CRM adoption and a big part of this conversation today around data comes in, is data helps us take the clutter out. Data cuts to the truth. Data helps us drive the business in the right direction. So that's where we see the most successful portfolio companies. They're super successful with getting data right, and they're actually starting to use AI to fuel getting data into CRM, which can light up the superpowers of the chief revenue officer and the people who are doing great in the company. So let's bring this all together, and I think this slide makes some sense, and I think it's one you might want to write down. So 5 business results, and I'm going to pursue. Most people will set up metrics. So I've got the results, and I've got metrics and KPIs underneath that. And then they'll also apply unit economics to measure in just a little different way. And that means I have to make sure that my marketing, sales, and customer service people are executing out in the field with my buyers and customers. So that's under the execution part. So with them, we're working on behaviors, processes, and skills. Where did I say anything about tech there? We don't implement tech to implement tech. We implement tech to help people walk out the mission of the company and serve clients. So to do that, they need behaviors, processes, and skills. And you can't do that with bad data. So what we want to do is take One, take the friction out of collecting the data. Next, we want to implement a revenue platform that allows me to diagnose the data and focus my energies on the areas that will give us the biggest bang and direct that data. It's almost like anybody familiar with lean manufacturing? It's that, but applied to the revenue side of the house. It's starting to be talked about a lot more. We're going to contextualize the data so that people aren't overwhelmed either with insights coming their way or with big forms that they have to go fill out. And we look at what the person's trying to do and identify digital friction and take that friction and turn it into fuel. Make sense? So the
Fuel
tech,
for
we're not
Mary.
Yeah, this is going to help Mary be successful. She maybe get some vacation to go watch football with her kids. And do you want to chat about this one, Crystal?
Yeah, for sure. So this one is showing what Chuck is talking about. We actually have the receipts for it. So up on the top, there are a few analyst recognitions. We've actually had a few more recently. So Chuck, I'll send them over to you so we can update this. But yeah, well, the analysts love us. And you may have heard of Microsoft. We're kind of a big deal in the tech space. The one thing I wanted to call out on this slide is towards the bottom of the slide, you can see the revenue that we're investing in research and development. So one of the things here at Microsoft that we do is really reinvest into our technology to make sure that we are leading the way. And I think this last year in AI, you can really see some of the fruits of that investment that we've made. So if you notice, the R&D spend there is actually more than the market cap of many of our competitors. So when you think about
Yeah.
it that way, Microsoft is a market leader and we will continue to be a market leader. Because we really do believe in what we're doing to empower everyone on this planet to do more. That is our modus operandum. So that's,
If
yeah.
I'm adding it right, it may be more than the market cap of a few of them put together.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it. So
Well,
cutting edge.
yeah, at congruentX, we're super excited about getting to use that now. So let's drill into data collection. And I think what we can do is take what used to be a chore and make it a non-issue is the cool thing. And I had mentioned earlier that we learned from our research for this. There's a paper that we're going to give to everybody on this call, and it'll have all that research in it. But what we learned was 91% of companies say their CRM data is incomplete. On top of that, 70% of your data decays annually. So even if you had 100% good data, at the end of 1 year, you have 30% good data. So it's a chore. But getting data into CRM is really, really a big deal. So we learned that the top portfolio companies, they say they use data to win and to create value, and they make collecting the data a priority with their clients, their portfolio companies. So another key learning is the way people want to consume data has changed. So at home, if I go to walk with my puppy dogs, I have two golden doodles, and my Apple Watch, which I guess I got to get it switched to a Samsung soon. I got one of those new phones. But if I go for a walk, it says, "Hey, are you going for a walk? Do you want to track it?" It doesn't track everything. It only tracks the things that I probably think are meaningful to me. So compare and contrast that to at work, where a lot of times we give people these giant forms to fill out, or you got to find your customer's information from a 360-degree view, which is it means a 9-foot long form, and a lot of times it's well intentioned to know that this client uses an Xbox and also is an Azure cloud user, but maybe the Microsoft call center Crystal person doesn't need to know that I have an Xbox when I have a critical Azure issue.
Yeah. Yeah, we want the relevant information, not all of the information.
So I'm gonna tell a real story very quickly about a portfolio company, and this portfolio company, they were called U.S. Lumber when we met them. They are called Specialty Building Products now. They are partnered up with Madison Dearborn, and they made a whole bunch of acquisitions. Amazing people, amazing team. Before we met them, they implemented one CRM and it sort of stalled. They decided on another one and it stalled as well. And the second one happened to be Microsoft. But the other one was the other market leader. So it wasn't so much the tool, it was the way that some of the things we've talked about. The original partner implemented sort of forms over data approach. And we determined that one of the things that when one of their salespeople was about to visit a client, they had this 7 foot long form to navigate. It was all in the name of the 360-degree view, but they're just trying to go call on clients. They need to know some specific things about that client. And we did a design thinking session. We found friction in their process, and it was the pre-call and on-site visit. And we found out that we could use technology to help their sellers win. They got their first impact in, I think, 30, 45 days. The leadership took it to one of their conferences and showed them what they were getting. So it's been a great story. They keep improving it. Like, if you go on LinkedIn or Facebook, they constantly improve those. So the notion of implement CRM and then leave it alone is not a good one. You should think about it as a product in your business, which they do. They have a very, very special team who keeps improving it. And they went from, as I mentioned, very low adoption, pretty close to zero, to the average seller using this solution that we built, which is a power app. It's geo aware, and it knows based on that client to present just certain information. So they went from zero to using it about 60 times a day. Yes, the average seller uses it 60 times a day. So that's more than they would be required to use it. This is actually something that's helping them to do their jobs better. And they won the Home Depot Innovation Partner of the Year as a part of this.
Chuck, if we could just go back to that, I just want to double click for everyone on the call here. This is what really makes congruentX so special, is that they're able to really work together with clients and understand exactly their business processes and then parse out what their sellers are going to need. So it becomes not just something that they have to do because CRO Mary tells them to, but something they want to use because it makes their jobs better. And that's really what a CRM should be. So yeah,
Yes.
Chuck, I just wanted to say that this was a fantastic job you guys did for US Lumber.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Mm.
That's Crystal from Microsoft speaking right there.
Yep.
So let's talk about a solution. And we had made these slides before, some of them from another webinar, and I had to change it because the name of the product's changed. They can improve it though. But the cool thing is, if you think about our example of the Apple Watch knows we weren't going for a walk and says, "Hey, do you want to track this?" Well, how many people get 3, 4 emails per day? No, you get 100.
Way
Right?
more than that.
Yeah, you get 100, 150, 200. So what if your Outlook has AI built into it that says, "Hey, I know you got 32 spam emails and other ones from that aren't spam, but they're from teammates. But this one email is from a customer or a prospect, and you want to keep track of that and you want to do something with it. So what if it also gives you some background information about that customer in case you want to think about it when you respond or you want to call them up? Or if it's not in your CRM and you want to add it, you don't have to spend 30 minutes at filling out a big form. It just looks at the information in the email and gets you a great start on it. Who'd sign up for that? Like 20 years ago, we would have, with CRM, it would have been crazy. But Microsoft calls this AI assistant Copilot for sales. And we in our firm are big fans of it. So much so that we'll talk about some things we'll do for potential clients that are interested in this. So the other thing we have for Copilot is it can live in your Teams meeting. We're on a Teams call right now. This is where Copilot for Sales can help as well. It can record the conversation and give us insights about the conversation. So if we were to do the insights right now, it would say, Chuck, you're talking way too much. But the cool thing is congruentX has actually built some IP that lives in it, says there can be different kinds of calls, that if it's a webinar, yeah, one or two people should be talking the most. But if it's a discovery call and you're doing all the talking, not so good. And since it lives in Teams, we can also use Teams to phone a friend. Like we can reach out to a team member who might know an answer that I'm being asked by a client in the heat of the moment, and I can do it right then and there, or I can send an IM to a client to a team member with some context, a link to an opportunity or something like that. So we can, for us, I always feel like we do a really good job in our firm of collaborating. So it almost feels like the client gets congruentX, not just the consultant that's on their engagement. So I think that can bring to bear the organizational capability to any client that Portco is working with instead of just the person they're talking to. Okay. And finally, those activities, guess how much data entry I had to do? Very little, if none. It's in CRM, and it's not my opinion. It's a summary of the actual call that happened or the actual email. It's not my opinion. So it's good information. And it's actionable information. So here's some tips and things that we learned from talking to or doing research on a lot of the top private equity portfolio companies. So summarize, if your consulting partner says you need a 360-degree, it doesn't always mean you have to have big CRM forms. Sometimes you need forms with a lot of information, but challenge yourself on that point. You might not. In fact, more often than not, you don't. You need contextual forms. So think about the task or the job to be done that person's trying to do at key moments and when they're working with their buyers and customers. And let's figure out how to take the friction out of collecting that data and delivering back contextual insights. And I always think about my good friend, JC Quintana, and what he says. He goes, let's make it functional. So help them get what they need, make it easy, and make it enjoyable, like the technology at home is. Making work tech enjoyable. How about that? There's not that we're going to really help people shoot their shot on this.
Love it.
So let's go on to the next use case. So companies have spent a whole bunch of money, about 80 billion last year on tech, and something like a half a trillion over the last 5-6 years. And it's interesting if you look at what we learned in our results is 80 billion a year in tech investment. Win rates are off, quota is off, sales cycle is longer, deal size is shrinking, but the number of emails automatically sent with AI that are spam is up 41%. I think the only number that's off there is the green one, the 41. I think that's way up. I think it's 200% up. But those are not the numbers we're looking for. And we're going to talk about some examples on how we can turn that around. So we're going to talk about a lot of times webinars are real fluffy and you can't get specifics. Let's talk about 3 very, very specific scenarios where our research tells us that private equity portfolio company salespeople can make a big difference if they improve. So one is before the call, the next is during the call, and the next after that is after the call. So before the call, we learned that buyers think that typical sellers are unprepared. Connor knows the answer to this 82% of the time. 82%. The seller thinks you're 8 times out of 10. They think that you just went from call to call to call and tell me what you're looking at. That's not what we want. We want to be prepared. So during the call, we also learned that the quality of the questions we ask is directly proportionate with the effectiveness of that call. You can get about a 74% increase when a rep asks 11 questions in the discovery call, and you can double your close rate when you ask questions about the impact of the decision or the critical events associated with the decision. So that's huge, huge. So an average seller is going to say, do you use blank? How often do you do blank? An amazing seller is going to say, what happens if you don't change blank? What happens if you change blank? What are the business benefits? So what if the tech could help you do those things a little better, change those behaviors, as we said, in the field? We also learned after a call, if you send an email within a hour after the call, you get twice as high of a response rate and 4 times the conversion rate and a 21% shorter sales cycle. 3 amazing things. And so you can use AI to, if it listens to the call and you use AI to send that, you can save a seller 23 hours per month. So you're lifting your win rate, you're doing all this amazing stuff and saving time if you do those things. Real specific, real good stuff. So if you're using Sales Copilot, if I've got a meeting, you could just ask it, hey, help me prepare for today's meetings. Or I can look at my calendar and click Copilot and it'll show me the background for that meeting. Pretty cool, right? Our firm congruentX, we built, led by a guy named Chris Cognetta, who I think is on this call, an add-on solution for Copilot for Sales that enriches the data to help you prepare for the meeting even better. So it helps you think through, have I worked with a company like that one before? Are they like the company that I've worked with before? Do we know anybody there? What are the pains that that company might have? So all of a sudden you're more prepared for that call. The other thing it does is it takes conversations from the calls. It uses AI to do some really cool things. First, we run it through a research-backed relationship framework that will help you understand kind of the personalities of the people on the call and how to best communicate with them. So communicating with somebody who's real direct, or as we say, gold, you probably want to be a little brief in your comments and be confident. And if you don't know, you say you don't know. If that person is green, they're going to want data. So it kind of looks at the personalities of the people on the call. Maybe even more compelling, will apply your Mary's playbooks for sales. So most conversations intelligence solutions, think about the big ones out there, they understand that a call's a call and you can give it certain words to track, but it doesn't understand that a discovery call is different than a presentation call. So you're going to get a bad grade on a presentation call because you didn't ask those questions, because it doesn't know the difference that we know of. Dialogue Prime, our solution that lives on Sales Copilot, is one of the only ones out there that can help you apply your sales method using AI. And it even scores and gives you insights on the call. You can ask it questions about calls. And it uses a research-backed summary of the call. So think challenger selling, the jolt effect, something like that. And it builds an email based on the call that with very little editing, you can shoot it straight to the client and drive the results we talked about just a minute ago. Okay, everybody still on track? So let's talk about how a client is doing this right now. We have a client called SRB Capital. They help companies get wage reimbursements for the IRS, and they use some intelligence to help clients look at their data and see if they qualify for funding from the IRS. And they're growing really fast. They are spending a lot of time entering data about calls and emails, and they've been hiring a lot of new sellers. And the cool thing is Copilot for Sales helped them with both. It's taken the friction out of entering data so people can focus on the conversation they're having with the person about this very important topic, their business taxes. And also, it can help new sellers get up to speed faster to talk about this important topic with people. Okay. So I know a lot of people will tell you you need to do a big project to do these things. Um, we're here to tell you that that you don't have to. You can take the friction out of collecting data with Copilot for Sales. It's literally the easiest thing you can do, and you don't need a big project. So look how happy Mary's face is right there. she has no, she has numbers. Mary's probably green. She has the numbers to back up what she's done with Sales Copilot for Sales. So since we have the data at this point in our conversation, we can start to direct that data to help our team with the behaviors and the skills and even some automation to help them be successful out in the field. Okay. So now we're going to go into a kind of a fun part that you don't see many people talk about, but we think it's awfully important. It's about using AI to collect relevant data to your private equity company that can help you hyper tune your revenue engine. And Chris Cognetta on this call knows he works on sports cars. A lot of times they start with a really similar motor, but you can tweak that sports car engine to make it go much faster. So I used to work at a company and early in my career called Milliken. It was an amazingly well-run company, and I was in sales and I had to learn statistical process control. How many people on this call have background in statistical process control? You may have breezed through it in stats class, but it's something, it's a big part of lean. It's a big part of the whole quality movement and things like that. But it just sort of shows the focus on manufacturing companies on their unit economics and looking at results and trying to get consistency around results and diagnosing their manufacturing process. So looking at our example earlier, we talked about this manufacturer. They're going to know everything about this widget they build. And a lot of times that manufacturer won't know anything about how much it costs to get a new client or when the deal's going to close or what the customer's worth. So what we want to help people understand is how to leverage that type data to run their revenue engine like a factory. And what we learned in our research was only about a fourth of private equity backed companies collects this data and uses it right now. So we think that companies that start to use this, and we've seen it in the results, is they are seeing, let's see, about twice as fast value creation than other companies. Pretty impressive. So I mentioned Winning by Design earlier. They do a great job of visualizing a revenue engine that's not just a pipeline, but a bow tie. So it shows the work to get a client and the work to help the client be successful. So that's not just a funnel, it's a bow tie. And then they teach you to look at it across 3 dimensions in every stage. So we look at volume, velocity, and conversion. Volume being how many, velocity is how long they stay in each stage, and conversion is how many go from one stage to the next. So you start to be able to look at this a lot like a shop floor plan. And the reports can look different ways. Sometimes they can be charts. You can do cool things with the bow tie. Um, and for a sales leader, maybe I just need a report Monday morning or Sunday night that shows me what my revenue looks like. In this one, I say, oh, wow, my deals are not spending much time in the discovery stage, but they're getting stuck in the close stage. Maybe we're not asking the right questions in the discovery stage. So let's, one of the battle cries of this day and age is do more and less, do more with less, right, Crystal?
Exactly.
It comes up a lot. So what if in our revenue factory, it could help us to increase our revenue with literally the same number of leads? So we're going to take an example and look at Mary, how happy she's going to be at the end of this. By implementing Mary's plan, we're going to take that same 100 leads that we saw in the other slide, we're going to qualify them just a little bit better with playbooks. And when we get to that critical sales conversation, we're going to be able to improve the behavior of that rep with conversation intelligence and built-in playbooks. So they're going to convert more, and we're going to write better paper, so to speak. So we're going to see more customers on board with our solution. And we're going to, because they fit our profile a little bit better, we're going to see those customers stay with us longer and expand. So what Mary learns here is by making small, incremental, targeted improvements in her sales cycle, she can literally double her revenue with not one extra lead. So Mary is feeling a little bit better about her situation, and the portfolio company that her firm or the company that she's working with is starting to see a lot more investment from working with private equity. Okay. Did that make sense? Anybody need to see that one a little bit more? Okay. So quick summary of what we learned. How you can use Microsoft AI to get your data in CRM with no friction or limited friction. How we can help your managers, Mary, drive their plays out into the field to help the team deliver better and more consistently before, during, after interactions, and really looking at their pipeline as well. And how to use your data to see across and into your revenue engine so that you can optimize it. And you don't have to do a big consulting project to do all this stuff. Things are getting easier. So let me ask you a question. How many people are excited about what we covered? You raise hand? Okay. How many people like it, but it's so different that they're feeling maybe a little bit overwhelmed because we covered a lot? Probably a lot of hands would stay. Some came down. That's good. So is it okay if I spend about 3 to 5 minutes talking about how you can learn more? Yes. Okay. So you can scan these things. We changed the first one, so it might be a bad link, but you can go to get copilotforsalesright.com. There's an ROI calculator there. There's all kinds of information about Copilot for Sales. We're also going to continue this webinar series as well, but you can also go ask about our envisioning session, where we take about 2 hours and we drill into your business processes. We look for digital constraints. We share some solutions with you, and we help you build a business case for how to start doing some of these things to accelerate value. Okay, I want to share a little bit about the envisioning session here. It's 2 hours. It's especially for portfolio companies. Normally a consulting company is going to say, yeah, we'll do this. It'll be a month and we're going to back up the bus. And a lot of people, this is literally a mini version of what we did at US Lumber. We're going to bring the people together from different roles. We're going to talk about your key processes as a portfolio company. You can actually bring your PE firm in as well. We're going to identify friction. We're going to identify solutions with Microsoft AI and low code that will turn friction into fuel. We're going to give you a blueprint for what to go do and a report on the financial impact if you do these things to help you build your business case. And if you decide to work with us on your engagement, I'm going to share something that's a little bit unheard of in our business. We're so confident in our approach, we guarantee business outcomes. We bet part of our fees on your success. I'll take a breath and I'm going to say it. I'll give you a specific example. So if you implement Copilot for Sales with us, which is the Microsoft solution we talked about, we bill the first half of the fees, and at the end of the first quarter, if you aren't getting the adoption goals that we set together, you don't get billed for the second half until we get them. And we do that with a lot of different engagements. So we think that by using AI, not only can you get more value as a portfolio company, we think it enables us to deliver more value to you as a portfolio company. So with that, thank you. And I will ask if there's any questions.
You did such a
Yes, it
great
does
job.
work with Salesforce too.
Yes, it does. Better with Dynamics? No, just it works with both.
That's right. But if you have Salesforce, you don't have to just sit and languish until your next contract renewal comes up. You can get started with several of the Microsoft AI solutions using the Salesforce that you have.
And yeah, I think Chuck and his team can really help the Salesforce instances play better with the rest of your Microsoft footprint. So if you're trying to integrate into your modern work or, your Azure, that's something that Chuck and his team can help with as well.
That's for sure. Actually, about